Welcome to the ICT for the Elderly event today. Welcome to this 2 hours webinar. It's a little bit after 2 o'clock. Let's start. First of all, I would like to let you know that as you have seen, this meeting is recorded, and also as you have been informed by email. So in case you don't want to appear on the recording, feel free to change your name and turn off your camera. Otherwise, we encourage you to name yourself with your full name and your organization, so that we know who is in the meeting today. I would like to let you know that this webinar is organized by the ICT for the Elderly project. It's an Erasmus Plus funded project, funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. And it is now my pleasure to invite Peter Palvolgyi, CEO of All Digital, one of the project partners, to welcome you all and to open the event. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear and see me. I also would like to welcome you to this How to Enhance Digital Skills of Older Adults event, which is organized and hosted by All Digital. My name is Peter Palvolgyi. I'm the CEO of All Digital. And we are very pleased to host the final multiplier event of the ICT for Elderly project, which is a strategic partnership for adult education. And Gabriela has explained, it's supported by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. And the project and this initiative addresses what we call online aging by offering the public a learning opportunity on how ICT and digital technology can play an important role in improving the quality of life through online social interactions. The project facilitates a pathway for upskilling the digital competencies of individuals, and our target group was the age of between 55 and 75, to make senior citizens aware of the many opportunities that internet and digital technologies can offer. All Digital is a member of the project consortium, which is led by Tech.mt Malta, together with 3 other organizations who are also members of All Digital from Switzerland, Slovenia, Germany. And I would like to take the opportunity to say a few words about All Digital, which is a pan-European membership-based international or European association. We are based in Brussels. Currently, we are representing 74 member organizations who work with 25,000 different sort of digital competence centers across Europe. And the digital competence centers are supporting the development of digital skills and competencies of, in our network, of 1.5 million Europeans every year by providing them with training and advice and support. And All Digital is focusing on all people who need to develop their digital skills, because we believe that everyone should be able to benefit from digital transformation. And we really need to go through a real digital transformation of our economy and society. And it, of course, requires that all Europeans have the digital skills required for what? To be an active member of the society. There is, however, we have to take into consideration the challenge of the digital divide. Statistics show that more than 40% of EU citizens lack of basic digital skills to navigate the digital world. And the skills indicators are strongly influenced by the social and demographic aspects, of course. And when it comes to population of our target group, the senior citizens aged 55 to 75, only 35% have basic digital skills, and only 30% who are retired and inactive. And we all know that there is an increasing aging population in Europe, and older adults are significantly important, and we cannot left them behind. And of course, they are also more likely to be victims of cybercrime. So older citizens must become key part of the digital world. Improving digital skills of older adults is one way, and a very important way, to improve their quality of life. If it's not addressed, they will be less independent, less creative, more isolated, more disconnected. The ICT for Elderly project approach was that senior citizens population is not homogeneous concerning digital skills, and there are senior citizens who are more active in the digital world than others, and the project capitalizes on their potential and trains them to become ambassadors of digital skills for their peers. And we will present the ICT for Elderly methodology and key results to you in further detail. And finally, I would like to thank all speakers and also project partners for joining us today and supporting our event. And I would like to wish you a very interesting and practically useful conference. With this, I would like to give the floor back to my colleague, Gabriela, who is going to be moderating this session today.
Thank you very much, Peter, for this very nice introduction. I will briefly go through the agenda and walk you through the program of today. So in the first half of the event, we will talk about the overall topic of digital and social inclusion of older people. And we will do this through this panel debate on the topic of ICT skills needed by elderly people and how to enhance them. And we will hear from the perspective of an educational center, a network of socio-cultural associations, and the European Commission. Our speakers will also answer your questions at the end of this panel discussion. So please prepare them and share them either in the chat or by taking the floor after the debate. And in the second part of the event, we will focus on the project, the ICT for the Elderly project, and we will share with you our methodology, our results. In between, we will have a short coffee break when we hope that you will come back and we will not lose you, but we need a little bit of time to breathe because there's a lot of interesting information. And we will go on with the implementation. We will tell you our story during the last 3 years, our struggles and challenges, but also how we managed to solve the issues that we faced, including with the COVID pandemic. And we will hear also from the participants, from our elderly ambassadors, about their experience from firsthand. And I hope that they will say that it was a positive one. And finally, we will share with you our policy recommendations, and those are basically the lessons learned that we would like to put out to other organizations, but also to policymakers, to make our experience useful for them, to create better programs and better policies supporting older adults. Finally, we will have a questions and answer session, and that will be the end of today's webinar. So without further delay, I would like to introduce to you our first speaker, Grażyna Buse. She's holding a master's degree in pedagogy, and she is the initiator and co-founder of an educational center of intergenerational integration, Hippocamp, based in Poland. She is also initiator and organizer of trainings, of meetings and seminars on demographic challenges in the context of aging. She's specialized in the field of adult education and social gerontology. And she coordinates national and international projects on active aging, and she popularizes gerontological and geragogical knowledge. She is also involved in the creation of a very innovative training course at the Medical University of Lodz titled Managed Senior Care. And we are very honored to have you today with us, Grażyna. Please be invited to take the floor.
Thank you very much. I have also the presentation. I don't know if it will be possible to share this.
Of course, I will stop sharing on my side. And please feel free to share. Do you have the sharing? Okay, great.
Is it okay? So I will leave that in that mode at the moment. So only shortly, thank you very much for invitation and for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences. I am a president of this organization, this association, and that was our goal to support educational development of older adults, and one of the goals is of course digital education, but we are working together with older persons in educational field which is very very wide. Anyway, this is of course this digital challenges are at the moment very important for us, and a lot of projects and our activities is concentrated on this topic. But we are, and me personally, more and more are considering this as media, information, and digital education as a whole package, because it is very important to see this challenge as the big package of information which will be shared, which will be explained together. So of course this basic competences are very important, but it is also important to explain the complexity of a digital world today. That's why also this media, information, education together. That what we do is very often incorporating of digital knowledge, skills into another educational activities. And I would like only to present our approach a little bit, how we think about this educational activity together with our over 10 years experience of organizing this educational activities situations for the certain groups, very small groups, very local groups. But what is important for us, it is long-lasting work. This is the work where we just day after day going forward together with these groups. We can also observe the progress, we can see the barriers, we have a lot of observations, and this is also very, very important for us and for development of our organization. So what we try to do, we tried to give the floor to the seniors. We try to give them opportunity to say what they want, what they need, to be creative, just to decide together what we want to do together, not what we can do for them, but what we can do just for all of us, for each other, and together. What is very, very important is to find the meaningful goal, the sense, and the really this feeling that what we do is gerontopedagogical approach and support in our case is possible, and we consider this as very, very important. This gerontological knowledge, the knowledge about how older adults learn, how to support them in this learning process is very crucial. So this participation, discussions and dialogue, learning from each other is also that what we have always in mind. Here, for example, is a discussion in one of the groups, and here are the persons who have no or very little digital competences, and we were discussing about this. Why is it so? What they need? How do they feel? What is necessary for them to start to make this first step? Because we are working with different groups with no digital competences skills at all, and with a little bit advanced who want to do something more. So there are different approaches, different projects, different activities. And this is not only activities, these are not only activities in projects. We are working, as I have already told, day after day, every time. And this is also very important. When we are creating a project, when we are thinking about the project, we try to do it together. And we try to think about the stories not about older adults, but the stories which are from them, which are their point of view. So this creativity and imagination is very, very important to improve this in the learning process of digital competencies. So creativity and imagination, and of course, own interest, and that what is crucial, meaningful for them, not especially for me, for us as organizers, but for them. And this is what we try to learn, how to plan our activities. We try also to concentrate on the potentials, experiences, not on deficits, but it is, of course, also another very important aspect to respect and to take into account this all impairments which can appear in this process. In my opinion, at the moment, it is very, very important on the European level to think about the crucial persons in this educational process and all activities. Educators, how we can call them educators, facilitators, sometimes teachers, although I don't like this. Just the persons who will be responsible for this supporting in going ahead in a digital world, not to stop, to develop further. So this media, information and digital world has to be explained, has to be somehow shared with the words, with the meanings, which will be acceptable and understood by older persons. So a little bit helpful can be this, what you probably know, this the DigComp Edu framework, but as you noticed, for sure, there is no special competencies, there are no special competencies for those who will be or are working with older adults. And this is, in my opinion, necessary, because this is not the same to work with young persons, children. This is a special group, special category, and it is important. Also, another publication is this UNESCO Media and Information Literate Citizens. It can be also helpful. We are going through these publications at the moment and try to adjust this and to use this somehow in our daily activities. So relevance to changing reality, innovations, experiments, this competences to transform different publications and different examples, understand different connections in our situation, opening minds, opening hearts. This is something what is important from our and for my personal point of view in this digital education or media information digital education, if you want to call this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Regina, for this inspiring brief introduction to your activities. And thank you for mentioning this, that we really need to take into account what the older adults, elderly people really want to learn and what is meaningful for them. This is also one of the conclusions from our training, and I think it's unavoidable to come to this conclusion. So yeah, thank you very much. It really resonates with what we were discussing among the partnership. Now I would like to invite our second speaker, Irina Calderon-Libau, who is joining us from the European Commission. Irina is a policy officer at the e-health, well-being and aging policy unit at DG Connect, and she's working on topics such as active and healthy aging, innovation, the silver economy, health tech, so really forward-looking topics, and digital skills. Before that, she was working at DG Regio, the Director General for Regional Cooperation, as well as at the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and there she was focusing on topics related to sustainable development and the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. We are happy to have you here today with us, as the European Commission is currently working on a number of initiatives relevant for older adults, such as the follow-up on the Green Paper for Aging, and the UN also has announced this decade as the decade of active and healthy aging, the decade from 2021 to 2030. I would like to ask you what are the policies in place at the European level in support of active and healthy aging, and I'm sure that you have a lot to tell us about this, and the role of digital technologies in these policies and digital skills, and what are the future plans and measures that will be that are foreseen in this aspect. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot for the invitation today, and I would also like to say that we have such an amount of various different activities that we have supported, not only in our particular unit, but throughout the Commission services. Yeah, I hope that I could give nevertheless an overview which is comprehensible. As you said, I work in this unit now for almost 5 years. We have been supporting mainly the development of digital technologies to support healthy lives, to support well-being, also in particular also for elderly people, because they're often isolated through, for example, various games and different ways which help elderly people remain cognitively active. And our focus has been, of course, on how to support people, not only elderly people, but all people with digital technologies to live better lives. And into this, I would start with presenting what maybe encompasses in the most comprehensive way our policy. It is the communication on enabling the digital transformation of health and care from 2018. And it has various trends related to exchange of data or exchange of electronic health records through borders. But maybe the most, let's say, for now, the pillar which has the most activities is the one how to empower citizens and patients to use digital technologies to better support their health and well-being. And during these last years, we have supported over 80 projects that are quite different. So whether it is to have a robot as an assistant, whether it is to have sensors at home so that patients or citizens could be monitored either by their formal carers or by their informal carers, very important, but also all kinds of various devices that other people could use because they also have particular sensitivities such as frailties, falls, and how their homes, for example, could be adjusted to this another phase in their lives. And since 2011, we have supported the European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging. This partnership is a bottom-up partnership with stakeholders from all over Europe, researchers, medical professionals, associations, NGOs, citizens, patients, who try together to, on a policy level, work on particular challenges, whether it's falls prevention or whether it's connected health, whether it's smart homes or age-friendly homes, or whether it's digital skills, and to exchange best practices between those various regions within. In this particular sense, we have been supporting the network of reference sites, which currently are 103 reference sites, are various communities, cities, it could be a whole region, which are committed to work towards supporting elderly with digital technologies and also success in doing so, meaning that they put together all stakeholders needed, citizens, patients, but also government, also the developers of the solutions, and health practitioners, in order to make sure that a certain technology, a certain tool would then be used. Because as the topic of your project is, we have witnessed during the last decade very good solutions that have been developed, and at the end they have remained rather unused or used in a very, very topical level. So maybe one of the conclusions from this last decade has been exactly the co-creation, how important it is to create whatever technology it is, whether it's even a platform, a simple platform, or a tablet, together with those that would need to use it. And yeah, this is maybe one conclusion. I would also just mention that we have supported also the active and assisted living program, which is currently, there are 26 countries part of it, including Canada and Israel, so it's not only European, and it's a joint program between member states and the Commission, so co-funded by member states as well, exactly with the aim to develop and also deploy, so make sure that the technology is then used on local level, on member states level, various technological solutions for better health and care. Maybe one of the important things that that we did in the last year and a half following the outbreak of the coronavirus across Europe and the world was that at the Commission level, we also, just as everybody else, took again this understood how important it is that we take care of our growing aging population, which is expected to represent more than 30% by 2070 in Europe. And with this in mind, we wrote a report on demographic change, which was published last year in June, a green paper on aging, which was published this January. And also member states agreed together on council conclusions on the rights of older people in times of digital transformation, but also on the importance of mainstreaming aging policies, because I come from a unit which focuses on health and care, but in order to transform our policies in such a way that they are adapted to this demographic change, there is a need that not only the health ministry or a social ministry or construction or let's say informatics or digital work in a separate way, but that they all work together in order to make sure that the policies are comprehensive and well adapted for this demographic change, which is expecting us. Maybe I think to go quickly further, what we'll be doing currently. We launched in February this year the Pact for Skills on Commission level. It is not straight for managed by our unit, but it is managed by several Commission services on the importance of digital skills for health, not only for health professionals, also for citizens and patients. And it is an Erasmus call which has been launched on that to put together the industry and the governments to commit to work together on the improving digital skills for health, whether for citizens or professionals. As I said, we from a research point of view, we just launched one of the Horizon calls, which was on empowering citizens with digital skills for health. And this work is expected to continue on supporting the digital skills, because they are, as also the speaker before me said, they are needed for elderly people in all aspects, whether it's on health or in any other or in any administrative service, other administrative services. We would be also in the coming 6 months producing, putting together the EU Care Initiative, which is a response to the Green Paper on aging, which one of its main conclusions was how important it is to promote life course learning and acquiring digital skills from early on in order to lead active and healthy lives and then aging lives. And this initiative would have three main focuses on how to improve the digital, how to improve care together with the support of digital technologies as well, for those who need it, those that are citizens and patients, either to lead active lives and prevent complex diseases, but also then to monitor, for example, after rehabilitation, after a treatment, very often we have to be monitored for a long time at home. So how to reform our care systems for those in need, but also for those who give the care, whether formal cares or informal cares, and how to support the silver economy. This is very important because, as many of you probably know, it is a rapidly growing economy. The older generation today has the possibility to be much more active and economically active, but also many people are very, very healthy once they go into retirement. And there is a need, of course, to support them as much as possible to remain active, whether they want or not professionally. Yeah, I think I would finish here. My last sentence would be that the Commission has various funding mechanisms and different policies to support digital skills for the elderly, and we would be continuously launching whether research calls, but also calls coming from the social care services, from DG Employment and Erasmus calls in particular, like your project. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for this very comprehensive overview, and it wasn't an easy task because yeah, indeed there are so many initiatives, and for ending on such a positive note, this is very encouraging for us that there will be upcoming funding calls on these topics, and we are looking forward to them. And now I would like to invite our third speaker for the panel discussion, Eric Giesen. He's a coordinator of the project Vier het Leven at FEDOS. FEDOS is a Belgian association which promotes and supports senior clubs. It's not specifically focused on ICT skills and digital inclusion, but rather on social inclusion and cultural participation of older adults. Eric was involved. Eric has been an e-facilitator for over 20 years, and he has been involved in the development and facilitation of various ICT projects, bridging the digital divide and promoting media literacy and coding skills. And he was coaching on the job e-facilitators, other e-facilitators in training. So he has a very solid experience in ICT training, but since 2019, he's working for FEDOS, where he develops a project on the cultural participation of elderly people of 80+ years old, both live and online. So Eric, we are very eager to hear more about the activities of your organization, and also what are the links between participation of older adults in cultural activities and their digital skills. Have they changed during the COVID pandemic? And is the lack of ICT skills a barrier to cultural participation? So without further delay, I give you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome. Hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Erik Gijs, and I am based in Brussels. I'm from Dutch origin, but I live in Belgium. And I work in Brussels and in Flanders. I have been working for Max VZW for 15 years, which is also a member of All Digital. So some of you might know. And there I worked a lot on media education, media literacy, and bridging the digital divide. But since 2 years, I work for FEDOS, which is a network of associations, organizations, it's not one of the main, it's mainly create a sort of red line in all these activities. Sorry? You can hear me, Gabriela?
Now again, yes, there was a little problem, but now
Okay.
you're back.
Yeah, okay. So I was saying at FEDOS, which is a federation of elderly organizations in Flanders and in Brussels, we work a lot around art and culture and the participation in art and culture as means of what you were talking about, aging healthy aging, which is in Dutch optimaal ouder worden, in an optimal way. It's in the part of the mission of FEDOS actually. In all these projects, we see that the digital becomes more and more important. And it's very nice to see what especially Grazina told. I think your experiences, the vision of your organization, it's very close to the work that we do here in Brussels. So it's always nice to see that all over Europe, people do very different things, but with the same goals and the same vision. So I'll keep that short, maybe not to repeat a lot, but working at the base in small groups, which is very labor intensive, as you told, that's an important aspect, I think, and learning by doing and hands-on activities are very important. I wanted to say, just to add some things about some thresholds of problems that we see when it comes to digital skills and getting online for older people. And two game changers that I thought, actually. I think that the problems that we see, one of the problems is that when older people, and especially over 80, they are not very much online. Sometimes they don't have a smartphone, they don't have a computer. If they need to do something digitally, their children might do it for them, but they do it for them. They don't teach them how to use these tools. They take it over. And so they still do not learn it. So it's meant very in a good way, but it doesn't help them to get digitally skilled. I think another problem is that in the government policies, it's very much aimed at how to use certain tools, how to go online and use e-health or e-government tools, how to do your taxes online, how to get your COVID certificate now online. That's very functional, but it's not, people really need to get acquainted with these materials. And I think a third thing is that if there are classes and older people participating in computer classes, let's say, digital activities, it's very much aimed in the curriculum. It's very much aimed at what the content is of these classes and not so much in who these people are and how they learn, what you talked about also. So these are three problems why I think older people stop participating, and they also have the feeling, this is not for me, this is for young people, I'm too old for this. And it's only when they start doing it and learning by doing, I think, that they step over these thresholds. And the game changers I saw in the last, I think this is the last 20 years, that digital tools become more and more important in social work. And I think the smartphones and tablets were a game changer. So like 15 years ago, activities would be on a computer and people would learn, this is a clavier, I don't need a keyboard, this is a mouse, it works like this. And people had the feeling, I have to work with a computer, I have to learn Word and Excel, which they are never going to use. With smartphones and tablets, it became much more intuitive, and it could be linked much more to real needs that people have, communication needs, for instance. And I think the second game changer was COVID, and the need to Zoom, to make video calls. And then we saw that a lot of people who saw this huge threshold to start to participate, then out of a need, they would do it. And also with the families, the children couldn't take it over. They had to teach their parents how to use it because they couldn't go physically to visit them. And this was really, then we saw a lot of people starting to use smartphones, computers, etc. What we did for our activities, because they are live activities, volunteers who go to theaters, to concerts, who participate in cultural workshops with people over 80 years who cannot get there by themselves for mobility reasons or because they don't have anybody to go with anymore. So they are socially isolated. So that was the aim of our project. All of a sudden, we had to reinvent that project. And we started with a cultural program online every Tuesday afternoon, every week, with a cultural guest, an artist, a musician, via Zoom. And so then our public used Zoom for their own need. Their need was to meet new people, to have a cultural experience together, if possible, live. So we had musicians playing live. We had people talking about heritage. We had people, we watched films, short films together with the filmmakers. And then afterwards, they could start discussing it among them. We had, I saw the figures a little bit, in 45 episodes, we had 542 participants, which is more or less 12 people average every week. So it's a nice group, but small enough to have a real conversation. And the nice thing was that people saw that even if it's digital, there is a real connection. And we had people from the coast to the Maas, La Meuse, the river on the east side of Belgium, who would never meet each other, but now they met within Zoom. And it was a real connection. And then you see that people really see, okay, this digital is really interesting. It can be interesting for me too. And it's important for me to use this. Let me see, there's some other things. Something you said also, Gracina, when we do this, about the discussions during the activity. So I think it's very important, it's hands-on. It has to be a very safe environment where they feel, okay, I can make errors, I can start over again, etc. And we can help each other. This is very important. So it's always group. The social aspect is also very important, drinking a coffee together, etc. So I think that's what makes these activities better, to get people digitally skilled than classes, let's say. You know, maybe I can leave it at that for the moment, and then we stay a little bit in time also, Gabriela.
Yes, thank you very much, Eric. It was
maybe
really...
just one more thing that I forgot, sorry.
No
what we also did, so we had this program, we had participants who came back every week, but then they have their own cultural experiences, and sometimes they create stuff. So at one moment we started, or we discussed together, or maybe you can be the next guest next week. So we had people over 80 who were like the central guest and who presented. One lady, she made films about the history of the neighborhood and the youth of them in that same neighborhood. She presented these films. Another lady, she saw a relic in a church in her city, and she had a lot of questions about it, and she started searching online, and she went to the museum, and we filmed it and we showed it to the other people. So then they became themselves a guest in this program. It was not just watching it and listening to it, but they were participating themselves. So that was a nice aspect of these Zoom programs too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting to hear from these very real and hands-on experiences, because sometimes we design programs and policies and we are a little bit detached from the reality and from the field work. So thank you very much for this reminders, and also for mentioning again this aspect of the need to focus on their needs and their interests, and to put into practice the use of digital skills and not just teach the theory of it, which is a little bit scary for this.
Challenge are the stories of the people, which was also in Grazina's presentation. Yeah, as a starting point. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're a little bit beyond the time frame, but I would still like to open the floor for questions from the participants, because I think that it's a one-time opportunity to take advantage of the knowledge and experience that our speakers are bringing today. And please feel free to take the floor, ask them a question. Anyone, just unmute yourself, turn on your video if you wish. While we are waiting for people to work up the courage to ask questions, maybe I can follow up with a question to Grazina. Your organization participates in transnational projects similar to the one that hosts this event. So I was wondering if you can share a little bit your point of view of the added value of these projects for seniors, because we talk a lot about youth exchanges and young people and the need for them to travel, get to know Europe and get to know other young people and build these European values and European spirit. But what about seniors? What is the value of such international exchange for them?
Yes. In our case, it is a very great value, because we always sharing all the experience in the project, and these groups with which we are working all the time. As I have told, some of them we know we have learned 10 years ago. So we are aging together, actually. And we are always reporting what we are doing internationally. So we are discussing everything. We try, as I have already told sometimes, and also Eric has told, this curriculum is, this is only the paper, yes? And we have to think about this and to discuss how we can implement this in the special certain group. So we are following, we are all the time in the discussion, and this is very, very useful when, if we are talking, if we are saying that all over Europe, we have the same problems, we are working on different solutions, and we are sharing experiences. And just this is what they also, it is also motivating. It is necessary to learn, to go forward. And this is something what is, we are really try to implement all the time. This is motivating, this is including, this is inclusion, this is sharing, and very, very important that they feel involved, yes, in everything what we are doing, what we are planning, and so on.
Thank you. Meanwhile, there is a question in the chat regarding any experience in working with disabled elderly, for example, people with Alzheimer. I think it could be interesting to hear from Eric, but also from Irina about this topic, because probably you have some projects related to this. So maybe Irina and then Eric, what is your experience in working with disabled people?
Yes, indeed, we have had many various projects working on Alzheimer, but also all kinds of dementias. And the experience is that very often, in fact, there is no way to use particular sensors because, for example, people have to be monitored either at home when they do not have any informal carer or any family member who takes care of them. So in fact, the experience has been that for all these health devices and technologies, at least from what we have seen, the place of relatives or informal carers to help them use this technology has been essential. Yeah, but there are very different tools that we have supported. I remember that one was how to help people not to get lost, people with dementia or any other problem, because they could go out and then get lost, or how to remind people various things. It is not so easy. That was the feedback that we could get because the idea is also to test those devices or technologies with other people. So that this is a challenge, and the informal carer is crucial there.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Eric. Would you like to share some insights regarding specifically these people with Alzheimer and other forms of dementia?
Mm-hmm. Yes, in the project I'm working on now, which is called Vier het Leven, which you pronounced very well. It means celebrate life. The name came from Holland. The project exists there longer. There are a lot of people with beginning Alzheimer that participate, but then I talk about the life activities, and there it's really important, and we see that it can help people, but it's very fragile. So it can be very good for people to actively participate in culture. Music is always a wonderful thing for people, which brings back memories, which is very good to keep people active. But in this beginning phase of Alzheimer, I think I don't have experience in doing digital activities with them, and I don't know. I could imagine that it might be more confusing somehow. And what you said, Irina, also the role of the people, the carers around them, is very important. I think for them even more, it's important that they feel safe. But sometimes it's difficult to know what they feel. No, so that's
Thank you very much. We are going to take just two more questions from the audience before closing the debate. One is to Eric. Have you noticed what age trainers are better accepted by the elderly people? So someone a peer, or is there a difference between trainers who are from their age group and trainers who are maybe younger?
I think there's definitely a difference, but I'm not sure if one is more accepted than the other. I think what's important always that they have to have the feeling that the person who trains them knows what he or she's talking about somehow to be accepted. I see that elderly people, they think it's wonderful to work with young people. So that's the intergenerational aspect, but that's much more on a social level and the aspect of meeting new people and not just being in your own age group. So that goes both ways, and it gives wonderful intergenerational projects are always wonderful, I think, in that sense, and exciting for all the participants. Maybe what is important is that where I worked before, I told you about Max, that's educators, e-facilitators are trained on the job, and it's people, unemployed people, low skilled, or what is the correct English word, short skilled people, or who didn't finish their school, etc. They were the educators actually, and they had to struggle themselves to get digitally skilled. So they have a different approach, and they have much more patience with people. And so this click is very important. So that's much more important than the age, I think. The fact that people feel that this person had to struggle also to get digitally skilled and understands what I'm struggling with.
Thank you very much. And the last question for Irina from Florin Alexandru. We used to be, he says that his organization was active in the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition when it was targeting mainly young people. And he's asking if there are plans of this initiative being mainstreamed with activities targeting elderly people.
Yeah, that's I'm sorry to say, but I really do not know, because that's an initiative launched by another service, and I have not heard of any such plans. But I can say that the Commission did launch another initiative, which is called Healthy Lifestyles for All, which targeted how to promote healthy lifestyles, so from young to old, in around a month ago. And then also that one of the aspects that were very much in focus once the Green Paper on Aging was published in January was, I'm coming back to Eric, in fact, was exactly the intergenerational solidarity and how important it is, because there are many good examples from various regions and communities on how, for example, young people have traineeships that they're focused during that traineeship how to help elderly people to obtain particular digital skills or to do some digital services to how to use them. And maybe another thing that we have, I don't know if you have heard on Commission level, we published the digital decade agenda around a month ago or two. One of the targets there is that by 2030, all Europeans can have and also use, and not only that can have access, but that they can also use their electronic health records, which brings us back to what exactly member states will be then which measures will be then taking member states to make sure that older people, who normally are those who also from statistical point of view look a lot on information about health online, if they would also take particular large-scale initiatives to promote the skills of older people to use, for example, electronic health records. Of course, I'm coming back to the health perspective, but yes, to answer to your questions, I really do not know, because it's not in my competences. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. We will certainly try to reach the colleagues who are behind the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition initiative and speak to them about this target group. But thank you also for mentioning these initiatives that are under your portfolio. And with this, fortunately, we have to put an end to this very informative conversation. I would like to give a round of applause to our three speakers. Thank you very much. I hope you can stay with us until the end, until 4. Yes. I know that Irina needs to go. I would like to say thank you, and we will be in touch for sure. Also, Grażyna to leave. But your was really valuable to our event and the perspective that you shared. So thank you once again. Now, before we break for a short break, I would like to invite Leonor Afonso from winternet.org, one of the project partners and initiators of this project, ICT for the Elderly, who will introduce you to the project methodology more in depth. So now is the time to really dive into our project, and who will let you know what we developed, what was our approach. And there's a lot of overlap with what we have already been discussing about empowering, about peer-to-peer learning. So without further delay, I give you the floor, Leonor, and I will try to share your presentation right now.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Switzerland. It's my absolute pleasure to be here with you today and to present you a little bit about our project. We've been working very hard for the past 3 years to develop this project and to reach the point where we are now. I'm going to ask Gabriela to share with you in the chat the links to both our website and our online academy, because since we are a little bit late, I will not explore so much these two platforms, and I'm going to invite you to do it yourself. And if you have any questions at the end, you can always send me an email or ask questions directly. Gabriela, can you switch to the next slide, please? Okay, so I would like to start by saying that the main results of this project that we thought in the beginning was a collection of best practices, development of a training manual and an online academy, and a production of recommendations for stakeholders and policymakers. I will not spend a lot of time discussing the production of recommendations because I think Gabriela at the end has a slot of time that she will do this in more in a deeper way. But I would like just to say that we started the project by collecting best practices in all of the partners countries. This meant that each country took time to really explore what kind of activities and what kind of resources and what kind of things actually were happening in our national contexts. And then we organized this in a unified document that we will make available very soon through our platforms. The second step was to actually create a curriculum and some syllabus. And for this, we created a manual and also an online academy that I would ask Gabriela just to show us a little bit, because I think it's important to see the type of online academy we decided on. Exactly, thank you. So this is a wiki-like tool. It's a cousin from Wikipedia, from the same family of tools. And this is a collaborative space. So here we have information not only about the different steps that we had during the project, like the best practices collection that you can see an example on the right side of the page, but also we organized all the curriculum and all the syllabus in the competences areas. I will invite you to explore this a little bit further, and you can click on each of the modules and see each of the sub-modules. Gabriela is showing us one as an example. You will see that we have learning content, we have learning scenarios, outcomes, what's expected, how the evaluations happened, and what these modules will teach each of the participants. Like I said in the beginning, this is a collaborative space, which meant that not only us, the partners, were able to produce content, but we had also help from the community. And I think that this is very important to mention, because like in Wikipedia tools, there's always a lot of people behind the platforms that are there to support the creation of content and to curate the information. So yeah, we can also see that we had 6 main modules, and each module was subdivided in different modules. So we have a first module that was more connected with digital communication and had sub-modules specific like communication, internet telephony, how to write emails in an advanced way, and how to communicate with bots, which is the automatization in communication. And we think that this is very important because nowadays us and our seniors more and more face the necessity of communicating with bots, and there's a very specific way to do this in a successful way. But we also focused on more general topics like digital transactions, how to make payments, how to connect with e-banking platforms, how to choose products and services, because every individual have different needs. So it's important also to teach people how to choose the most suitable products for themselves and not generalize people. And also we have a module about smart living and well-being, which was more connected with smart tools and accessibility and the future developments in this field, the field of communication, the field of digital literacy. We think that it's very important also to talk about digital collaborations, and here we also spoke about not only the collaboration itself, how to collaborate online, but also what kind of opportunities that exist nowadays for people to work together and to produce content together, but how to create within a group. An example of this is how to produce collaborative notes on a meeting, during a meeting, also how to become more aware of the citizenship online, because it's something that it's very important nowadays to guarantee an ethical side of our behavior online. And we had two modules that were transversal to all of the other modules, which was security and privacy and self-organization. This meant that by being transversal, what I mean is that they were present in all of the other modules. So yeah, every time we had a module, we tried to give a little bit of tips and to go a little bit over security and privacy and how people can actually organize themselves in order to work better with others online. I will ask you to go back, exactly, thank you, to the presentation and to advance a little bit. Okay, so now about our ambassadors. So like I said in the beginning, we had the first step, which was to create best practices, but the second step was to create actually a curriculum and a training manual to use with seniors and to use with people who work with seniors. And it was very important the way we selected our senior ambassadors was very important. So first of all, the first thing we did was we decided that these participants would have a very active role in the project. So besides being participants, they would become ambassadors of the project. They would be also involved in not only the participation in the activities, but also in the dissemination and exploitation phases of the project. In order to be an ambassador, there were a few criteria. The first criteria was to be able to speak English and to write in English, because this is an international project, so it was important that everyone was able to speak a common language. And the ages range between 55 and 74 years old. This was thought this way because we understand that there's a fourth age, people above 80 years old, but we would like to target people who are still very active in the communities, and some of them are still working, and they live very fulfilled lives and very active lives. Another criteria that was very, very important for us was this willingness to take part in the other phases of the project, not only to come and participate in one activity, in one international activity, but also be a spokesperson to be an ambassador of the project, to take part in the dissemination and the exploitation phases of the project. And we chose people that were particularly involved in their communities. They were very active, they still live very active lives, and they have contact with a lot of people with whom they could disseminate the results and the achievements of this project. Gabriela, please. And this was what we were looking for, but there's also a side, what did these ambassadors gain from this project? Of course, the most obvious one was the possibility of traveling and have a fun and relaxed moment with an international group. But it was a little bit more than this. They became the ambassadors, the ambassadors for the community, for this project, both in their own countries and other countries. This was also thought to promote a very active lifestyle and to help them better adapt to the use of technology and digital culture, and to increase their network, not only with their local peers, but also in a broader way with the international people that they met and with whom they established relationships. And at the end of the activity, of course, they were rewarded with a certificate of attendance that showed that they actually acquired a number of digital technology, digital skills. And this is also very important because it's a way of recognizing what they have learned. I already showed you a little bit about the modules, so I will not spend a lot of time saying again. I will invite you to go through the two platforms, our website and our online academy. And now it's the time to ask if you have any questions for me. And if you don't have it now, maybe in a few days or in a few weeks you will have. So I will drop my email on the chat here, and feel free to contact me at any moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leonor. Yes, and indeed, also at the end of this second half of the event, we will have a session with questions and answers. So Leonor will stay with us until then, and you can also ask her any question that comes up. Now I will let you have a cup of coffee or tea or some water, go to the bathroom. But I would like to ask you to come back in 5 minutes, so really short break, just to breathe and move a bit in order to finish on time by 4 p.m. So please, let's convene back in 5 minutes now. It's 16 minutes past 3. Let's come back at 3:26. Thank you. Sorry, 21. My calculation skills are not at their best today, but yes, in 5 minutes. Hello again. I hope that you are all still here. I still see 47 participants, so thank you very much for staying with us. Now I would like to invite the project coordinator of the ICT for the elderly project, Fiona Tesi from Tech.mt. She will she will guide you through our experience during these last 3 years and the implementation of the program that Leonor presented. And after that, we will hear also from our ambassadors. So stay with us, and Fiona, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for the invitation, Gabriela. I would like to ask you if you will be sharing the presentation from your end.
Yes, I will share it. Just 1 second. Sorry, but so just need to open it. I'm sorry for this small delay. No, it's loading. So you should have it with you in a minute.
Yes,
now.
we can see it.
Okay, great.
So basically, in the first slides, there's just a short summary about the partners. The project started way back in 2018. It was supposed to be over a period of 27 months. But due to COVID, we had to ask for an extension, and then it was over a period of 39 months, and now it will end in November. So we're coming to a closure of the project. The leading partners are us, and coordinating the project together with Switzerland, Germany, Slovenia, and Belgium. Next slide, please. So, although the digital divide has been substantially reduced over the last decade in Europe, the gap remains far from closed. Important challenges on internet use remain unreached, as about half of the less educated and the elderly in the population do not use the internet regularly. That will be about 58 million EU citizens aged between 16 and 74 that have never used it at all. So digital divide also varies between member states. The situation is even worse when it comes to individuals aged 55 years and over, with the average of 31% of these individuals who have never made use of the internet. So here comes the project with the aim to facilitate a pathway for upskilling these individuals between the ages of 55 and 74 in their digital competences, and to make them aware of some of many opportunities that the internet offers. Through the project's output, which my friend Leonor also was explaining earlier, there was an opportunity to target what has come to be called online aging, by offering the different possibilities on how the internet can play an important role in improving the quality of life through online social interaction. Next slide. This has been covered by Leonor earlier, so we can move on to the other slide. This is the timeline of the project. So the project started with the collection of best practices by our countries, which once put together, the online academy could be designed together with the training manual. And then everyone started with the process of recruiting participants. We call them ambassadors. And everything was in place until the pandemic hit. And everyone was on lockdown, and it became quite challenging at the time. Unfortunately, there were a couple of months where we couldn't start the piloting training, and it was then decided to do it locally in the respective countries. Then we managed to organize piloting 2 this September, which was originally planned to take place in Berlin, but then it was decided to take place in Malta. And now, basically, we're just 2 weeks away from the project's closure. The impact and challenges of the project. The ambassadors were chosen, but since the project was paused at that time in March 2019, due to lockdown, they could not travel to Berlin to kick off the first phase of the training. As months passed until we managed to go ahead from the national agency and proceed with the training, the original number, unfortunately, of participants decreased until it was decided that piloting 1 could actually be delivered. And once the go-ahead was given by the national agency, the piloting training took place so that the project could continue. Some participants, unfortunately, lost interest, and once again, they had to be encouraged to be part of this project and be our ambassadors. There were countries then that delivered training physically in class, and others delivered training online. As Malta, we worked with both situations because there were some elderly who did not take the vaccine, so they could not actually be in class to participate. And it was quite challenging, especially considering that the aim of the project was to equip the ambassadors with digital skills. So it worked the other way around for us, the practice before the theory. Next slide, please. So although online distance education provides adult learners with an opportunity for lifelong learning, there are still factors challenging them to engage in educational processes. Let's take some examples of the challenges met during the implementation when online sessions took place. As we all know, technical issues are bound to happen in an online-only environment. The most important thing was to stay in touch with these participants as much as possible, not just during the delivery of the lesson, but even between one lesson and another. There were participants who used to the previous one. That's it. There were some ambassadors who actually used to contact us asking a question, because sometimes they found it a bit difficult to ask questions during the session. So we kept in constant contact with them to keep on encouraging them to attend all the sessions. Not being physically in class resulted in some distractions as well, which made it more challenging, even though a quiet place has always been suggested for participants. Our ambassadors were employed adults, which in our case, there were 3, and some had challenges concerning their job schedule. So try to find a suitable time for everyone to be able to join the training. Also, the lack of in-person interaction with some of them, with both the trainer and the rest of the participants, was also particularly challenging because they usually love to talk to each other live physically, especially since it was a small group. But being seen on a screen is not always easy to participate. So next, thanks to piloting 2 that took place in Malta in September, almost all participants could join us and managed to meet physically. It was a great experience, not just for the ambassadors, but also for their leaders, including me. Many months have passed, and the experience of meeting physically is a complete different thing from just meeting online. All participants, even those joining us online from Slovenia, had so much to share, and not just academically, but also shared best practices in their respective countries, personal things, commonalities in between them, culture. So they had this time as well to share other things apart from the training. There is no doubt that ICTs allow members of the growing elderly population to remain independent longer and improve their quality of life. Opportunities to develop and maintain these digital skills should be given to senior citizens through appropriate lifelong learning programs such as the ICT for the Elderly project, which may help the elderly acquire awareness of innovative processes and become or remain active participants in the knowledge society. Basically, the final objectives of the project, the fact is that they increase the number of elderly using innovations in their daily life, the enhancing the senior participation in activities connected with new technologies and decreasing their fear about using internet. The three ambassadors we have, they are all very active. Two of them work in day centers with elderly people on a daily basis. And the other person who will follow my presentation is a very active teacher as well. He delivers sessions in ICT for the past years. Other things are introduce and develop and promote innovative methods and tools in training, foster equality and inclusion, which is very important in both education and training. And this one especially promote the exchange of experience and skills and increasing cooperation among these groups. On a final note, the notion of quality of life is receiving increased attention, but improving the quality of life of older people requires taking into action their work environment as well, their community, their social relations, home environment, and even their personal well-being. They have different types of learning needs related to improving knowledge or their ability to accomplish practical tasks. Learning can also be considered as an important activity in itself, improving their personal fulfillment and social connections as well. However, there are personal barriers to the access to learning, unfortunately, and the skills, abilities, and the motivation needs. So finally, it is not only important to involve older people in learning to improve their knowledge, but also to provide the opportunity for others to also learn from them. As such, that is it from my end. So if you would like to put forward any questions, just feel free to ask questions or send me an email on the email address on the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Yes, please think about the question that you would like to ask at the end of this session. Now is the time to involve our ambassadors, as it was already mentioned. So I would like to invite two of them. We are lucky to have them with us today. Francis Darmani and Jana Arndt. Francis, as Fiona mentioned, is an active teacher. He teaches ICT courses, and he will share today with us our experience. So Francis, if you can hear me, can you unmute yourself so that I'm sure that you're there? Okay, maybe while we are waiting for Francis, I see that Jana is already here. So ladies first, let's do it that way. I would like to introduce you to Jana, who was born in Slovakia, but has lived in Berlin for the last 30 years. And she's a business economist. She worked for a large international company for over 25 years as a supervisor in the purchasing department. She was responsible for project and contract management. And for 4 years, she has been a member of the Berlin Construction and Housing Cooperative, where she is a volunteer. And as a volunteer, she teaches elderly people in the so-called smartphone courses. She was one of our ambassadors from Germany, and she traveled to Malta for the international training course. And Jana, I would like to ask you 3 questions. Why did you join the ICT for the Elderly training? What did you want to learn? What was one most interesting thing that will stay with you after this training? And what will you do as ambassador for other older adults? The floor is yours.
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Gabriela, and hello to everybody. Greeting from Berlin. Yes, my name is Jana Arndt, and first of all, I would like to mention that I am grateful that I had the opportunity to participate in this very interesting workshop. I really wanted to deepen my knowledges, and I was curious what other countries were offering for older people in the digital world. I was interested in these possibilities, methods, instruments of digital learning, and also space that older people have in or use in other countries. And I was curious, what can we learn from them? What organizations are there? As how we can exchange experience with each other. And the most memorable thing for me was I was very impressed of the various and exciting program, the outstanding hospitality of the host, and the wonderful atmosphere can only be categorized as fantastic. We had really excellent teachers. They were very good prepared, and everything will stay in my mind. What I learned in this subject, I would like to share with our older people in our courses what we learned, and my experience. I integrate, and I would also in future integrate the training contact into our courses. For example, we have already introduced for the smart devices, the smart device Alexa, to our group of elderly people. And also a few of our people have already taken part in the digital scavenger hunt organized by Stefan Foundation. Also, we are now in 2 courses. We have only in one course 10 people because of we have not so much space, and we had these courses every week in Tuesday. Gabriela, I hope I answered your questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, you did.
Now, I'm not sure if everybody hear me because
Yes,
I don't see any reaction.
Yes, you are very well heard. The audio worked perfectly, and you answered my questions. Thank you very much. Maybe just one more question. I don't want to to torture you, but I'm very interested to hear what you think about how to attract older adults who are not really aware of their digital skills needs to such trainings, because we know that there are some adults who are already active and who are seeking proactively this kind of opportunities. They are looking online for courses, or they are asking in their community, but there are older adults who just don't know or just are afraid. How can we bring them in?
So I can only speak about my experience with the elderly people, with the digital world, and I think it is important to take people's fear of the digital world and the devices away by showing them the possibilities, advantages, and benefits when they use it. In our courses, we show the people when they use emails or the WhatsApp, they can send picture to the friends, to the family, to the grandchild. They can find in internet, for example, the women recipes, how they can use calendar, how they can deal with Google. We motivate them, we show them what out for, and we help them get started in this digital world and accompany them and support them. And our experience is really without support and without help, it doesn't function. This is our experience.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for being one of the ambassadors and being so active in this role.
Thank you very much. Also, I would stay because I'm really interested on this contract. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jana. Thank you for joining us today.
You too.
Okay, without further delay, it seems that our second ambassador has a technical problem to join the meeting. So we will continue with the last part of today's webinar, which is our policy recommendations. So our lessons learned, what we want to bring forward after the project, and how we recommend to use the results that we have achieved. And this will be me who will present them. I will share my presentation, and I will try to be quick in order to leave still some space for last questions at the end, and maybe our second ambassador will join meanwhile. So as it was already mentioned a couple of times, one of the project final products are these policy recommendations, and they start with addressing this question: why older people should keep on learning? And the answer is simple: because the older population is growing, and there are different statistics with this regard. But as you can see, by 2050, it is foreseen that people aged 60 and plus will outnumber children. And this is due to the aging from the bottom, so basically less babies being born, but also aging from the top, which means basically longer life expectancy of people. So there will be more, just to put it in very simple words, there will be more elderly people in the future, and we should care about their skills and about the fact that they should keep learning and adjusting. Why, on the other hand, are they vulnerable with regards to the digital transformation and digital inclusion? Well, because they are more prone to being a victim of cybercrime. They are usually isolated. They are more afraid of using digital technology, so they have this psychological barrier. And they are more likely to have lower incomes, so less likely to be able to pay to update also their digital technologies and buy newer tablets or software. Fiona has already mentioned some of these aspects. The recommendations also mention them, why it is good to improve their digital skills, because it's a way, it contributes to improving many other aspects of their life. Overall quality, through being more active, being involved in education, in social activities, in hobbies, being able to register for the gym or register for a yoga class. They are more informed and have a wider choice and can make have more options and can make decisions about their leisure time, about the information they get about travel, about healthcare. They could be longer involved in the job market, so they have skills that will allow them to stay longer, and they could be more involved in community activities, and even the digital tools could allow them to form their own interest groups online, but also offline. Of course, as I said at the beginning, this is just one of the enablers, digital skills. to improving their lives in these various aspects. The recommendations that we produced include also a section on policy overview. There are many different policy initiatives. Irina was also mentioning many of them, and a lot going on. But in the end, our conclusion by reviewing this policy landscape is that it is still not enough. Irina was mentioning that in the future, the Commission is pushing the member states to mainstream aging policies, so to have a plan on how ministries can work from different sectors can work together in order to really address this target group. And with these recommendations, we also confirm that in the current policy initiatives, there is not enough focus on older adults, especially those after 65 years. There is not even statistics. For example, the official statistics with regards to participation in lifelong learning are covering the working age, so people up until 64. But there are no even statistics about the number of people of 65 plus who participate in lifelong learning. The recommendations in the second, so the first half of the recommendations are this overview of the landscape, of the needs of the target group, of the policies that are currently being developed. The second part is diving deeper into our experience, first mentioning the challenges, the impact of COVID during the 2 piloting phases that Fiona explained. And as she said, it had an impact also on the number of people that were involved in the 2 phases. So as you can see here in the national training phase, there were between 5 and 8 people. In the international training, there were almost 12, as she said, participants. So overall, we reached the target, but as Fiona explained, we faced various challenges, dropping the motivation due to the uncertainty and due to the fact that we had to wait and see when and how we can actually run the training just when the participants were ready to start it. And now we come to the actual recommendations, what we want to tell other organizations and policymakers. The recommendations are divided into 2 recommendations for training providers. So for people like us who work with older people and who are planning to implement similar programs. And the second part is the recommendations for policymakers. We came up with 10 recommendations. But we are also open to add more, and if anybody from the audience want to suggest a recommendation that is with regards to the project, of course, and the target group, we are happy to consider including it. So the recommendations revolve around, the first recommendation revolve around the topics of interest. And we already discussed that this should be the main aspect taken into account when designing trainings for older adults, that they should really focus on their interests. And we, through this program and through this experience, we found out that they do care also about forward-looking topics. And now I need to open this brackets and make the clarification that we, as Leonor and Fiona also mentioned, we targeted older adults who are already active, who are already had a certain level of skills. So really our focus group was not of ambassadors, was people without any digital skills. But of course, these ambassadors then would work with people, with other older adults without. So the secondary, let's say, target group was broader. But in our case, yeah, we found out that the ambassadors cared about forward-looking topics, about future technologies such as virtual reality and artificial intelligence, and so on. Our conclusion with regards to the methodology was that, as it was already mentioned by the speakers, training programs should be made practical and fun. They should be varied in terms of content, but also methods, combining class time with self-study and outside visits. And there were mentioned visits to museums and expos and so on. The training, as I said, should be tailored to the specific needs and requirements and should provide individual support. This was also mentioned by Grażyna, that it is very important, the role of the trainer and of course also of the informal or formal carers supporting those people to provide this individual support. We found out that international exchanges are as valuable for older people as they are for young people, because they do reinforce their motivation to participate, but also then to go back and tell about their experience to their peers and make it even more interesting and impactful. The social contacts as well were a key aspect of the successful peer learning, and the feedback from our ambassadors was that completely virtual implementation cannot bring the same results as the one that we had with the face-to-face training in Malta. The participants valued, so the ambassadors valued very much the online academy as a resource for self-learning that complements but does not replace face-to-face courses. So this is related also to the previous recommendation, that training providers should have in mind to create the framework and the conditions for continuous sharing. So not one-off training, but rather a continuing support, be it through a Facebook group or WhatsApp group. Also from our experience, this was very positively evaluated by the ambassadors, that after the training, they stayed in touch and there was this safe space for them created to share, to continue to share good practices and resources and be involved on a more long-term basis and create a kind of relationship. If training providers are planning to implement the training program with older adults in a hybrid mode, there should be a special attention to good technical conditions. This, of course, counts for any hybrid training, but with older adults, it's even more important because they could get more easily frustrated if something is not working and abandon their participation. Training providers should engage stakeholders, meaning associations or organizations working directly with elderly people. The second set of recommendations is aimed at policymakers, and therefore they are a bit more general let's say the direct link with our experience is less direct, but nevertheless, they are still based on what we learned during this project. Of course, there should be more financial and institutional support for such activities, for lifelong learning activities targeted specifically at older adults. And we are very happy to hear that in the Erasmus Plus program, there will be upcoming calls regarding this target group, as Irina mentioned. We recommend that specific European and national digital education action plans are designed with older people in mind, because the current digital education action plan is mainly focused on younger people, on people who are still in the formal education system. That policies should be learner-centered and should allow anyone to be able to learn, irrespective of the age and background, and that learning programs should take the learner needs into account. And we really plead that older adults, 65 plus, should be included in statistics and in policy initiatives as explicit target group, and objectives should be set and progress should be followed based on this. And this is not the case right now. Yeah, in general, education policies should look beyond formal education in a lifelong learning perspective, because there are very few, if I could say not any, adults, older adults who can be found in this formal education landscape. The second part of the recommendations aimed at policymakers are a little bit more practical, more related to the awareness raising. So there should be greater visibility and acknowledgement of the initiatives. There should be targeted awareness raising on the benefits of improving digital skills in older adults. Between the partners, we were discussing that initiatives such as, for example, national awards promoted by ministries for organizations working with older adults and for their initiatives are a good way of recognizing this work and giving it value. So ministries should be encouraged to create such awards. Of course, we should pay special attention to educators, because as Grażyna was mentioning, they are at the core of empowering the older adults and any learner in terms of digital, but also any other skills. So they should be supported. Good practices should go beyond healthcare services. Luckily, Irina is not here to hear this, but it should be wider. And should focus also on skills that are not just about using smart devices or assistants, but really basic skills which allow people to stay in touch and to stay active. That's more or less it, what we want to achieve. Maybe it's a little bit idealistic, but we will put this forward to the European Commission, but also at the national level, the partners will promote and push forward these recommendations. We hope that you, participants in this event, would get on board and also maybe support us in promoting these recommendations to your authorities, be it at the local level or at the national level. And they are also useful for you as education and training providers in your work. So with this, I stop. We have 2 more minutes before 4 p.m. But I would like still to have a questions and answer session and allow you to express your views about anything that you heard today. So please, the floor is yours now.
There is a question in the chat.
Okay. Is it available, a briefing for us to publish? Yeah, this is a very good point, actually, which we were also discussing among the partnership, and we are planning to develop such a document, like a statement synthesizing our wishes and main requests. So definitely this will be available. It is not yet developed, but on the basis of this longer document, which encompasses all those aspects that I mentioned, we are planning to develop this in the coming weeks. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, it's exactly 4 p.m. I would like to say again a big thanks to all the speakers, to the partners, to all the participants, to our ambassadors as well. for your attention and for your patience. And yeah, we've already shared the project website, so you can follow it for the last developments of the project that will come in the coming weeks, literally, because as Fiona mentioned, the project is coming to an end, but our activities in this field will not. So if you are interested in exploiting any of the results or in implementing an activity related to the project target group or topic, please get in touch. We will also upload the recording of the event on our YouTube channel, on All Digital YouTube channel, and we will let you know. All the participants of today's webinar will receive an email with the link to the recording, and we will ask you also for a small evaluation of the event. Hopefully you will let us know what you think also for us to improve the future events. And with this, I would like to close today's event and wish you a wonderful evening.